Hello, today I'd like to talk to you about pins. A pin is an arrangement in chess, perhaps in a position like this one, where we'll play a bishop out to attack a knight, and the knight's shielding the king from the attack by the bishop. So we're attacking the knight, but one of the defences that's usually available, getting out of the way, the knight can't get out of the way because it's going to be checked. It's illegal to get out of the pin, and if we did it on the other side with a bishop on g5 and a knight on f6, it would be inadvisable for the knight to move. So that's a pin. Pieces in a line and a more precious piece behind, and the piece in the middle can't move or shouldn't move. One of the consequences of that is that anything that the pieces looks as though they're defending, they're not really defending because it's pinned. So in this position, if black didn't move anything, d takes e5, d takes e5, knight takes e5, and because the knight is only pretending to defend the pawn, white wins a pawn. Worse than that, well, let's make a silly move for black in this position, a5. Because the knight can't dodge out of the way, if we attack it again with a piece of a lower value, so we play d5 here, then we'll win the knight. The knight can't move out of the way, and the bishop will hold it down, and the pawn will take it. So there's we'll win a piece that way. So all very good so far for white. Another context in which you'll see a pin, and it happens so often I feel I need to show you an actual example, an opening position that may have happened from the French defence with an exchange on the e file. If the king and the queen are both lined up on an open file, and now we can play rook to e1 as white, attacking the queen, which can't move out of the way because it would be check, illegal, and we're winning material. I think in fact black can throw the knight in to block the attack by the rook, and then we quote only win a knight, but that's fine. So that's a pin. We should say that pieces that are pinned against a queen, probably they shouldn't move out of the way, but they can, and I'll just show you a couple of examples of that. One very common situation in the Queen's Gambit. So we'll play the main line of the orthodox Queen's Gambit, and here the knight is pinned against the queen, and black sometimes plays a sneaky move, knight bd7, defending the knight but interrupting the defence of the queen of d5, interfering with it, we say. And perhaps white can win a pawn here, and white might be very surprised if the knight steps out of the pin, allowing black's queen to be taken. But after the end of every little tactical idea, it's your opponent's go, and now black shows their idea with bishop to b4 check. The queen has to step into the way, takes on d2, takes on d8, and black's come out a piece ahead. There's an even more remarkable idea we can find where black moves out of where white this time moves out of a pin in this position, which is derived from the work of, actually the only position, I think the only game we know, by Sir Kamar de la Gale. So de la Gale was the chap who taught Philidor how to play chess, so he must have known a thing or two. Rather a poor show by black, playing lots of poor moves, but a pin of the knight can be ignored. Knight takes e5, and the queen attacks the bishop attacks the queen. If the bishop takes the queen, then bishop takes f7 check, and king to e7 and knight to d5 checkmate. De la Galle's mate. Beautiful thing. That's probably all you need to know about pins, but I'll show you a couple more just for entertainment value. We have seen single pins here, but how about a double pin? This is a game between Alekhine and Nimzowitsch, and we can see that there's our familiar pin through the knight to the queen. The knight can't move because the queen's being attacked, but actually if the queen wasn't there somehow and the knight still couldn't move because of this rook on c7. If the knight moves out of the way, it would be defended twice, but it would be attacked 3 times by this fantastic battery down the c-file. So a double pin, which is rather remarkable. Well, having set it up, how can you take advantage of it? And well, Alekhine not short in the spotting tactics department, and the way to do this is actually just to retreat 1 move, and we're going to attack the knight with a lower value piece by playing the pawn up to b5, and the knight can't move out of the way. Nimzowitsch tried to buy some time to get the king across with b5. The bishop goes back, and now black can run the king across to defend the rook, and so black's got everything sorted out again. Well, maybe. Alekhine just played h4 and says, well, you're okay where you are, but at some point you're going to have to move, and anything that black does to disturb this defensive setup brings it crashing around the ears. So it's a sort of zugzwang. Any piece move undermines either the defence of the knight on c6, and or it allows the queen to be taken, or maybe both. So black resigned here. Lovely idea there by Alekhine. So that's a double pin. Would you believe there's such a thing as a triple pin? So in this position of a game von Freyman against Forgách, played in 1909, there were black knight on f6 in a triple pin. It can't move because of the pin of the queen against the king. There's also a pin of the bishop against the queen, and there's even a third pin of this pawn on g6, where if the knight moves, then the bishop and rook gang up on it, and it can be taken. So 1, 2, 3 pins, triple pin, amazing setup. Well, just like the Alekhine game, all very well having it all pretty at the moment. How are you going to increase the pressure? White increases the pressure by bringing the knight into e4, so the knight on f6 is attacked more times. If the king takes the rook, there's a pretty terrible discovered check, and so we'll take the knight. Why don't we? And now we've set up a discovered check against the king. So if the rook moves anywhere, there's going to be a check. The king tries to run away. Rook takes f6, discovered check. King to h7. Rook takes g6. Not a check, but trying to lure the king out. If the king comes out, king takes g6, queen takes e4 check. The king has to come forward. Queen to g4 mate. So after rook takes g6, black tried to tidy things up with knight to f6, holding a few squares together, but after queen to f5 there's another discovered check threatened, and the king's pinned in place, and at this point black thought they'd had enough. So a triple pin from von Freyman. Well done.